Hey, so I'm just going to preface this by saying that I'm not a Destiny lore expert, at least not at this point, and I don't have any secrets to the inner workings of Bungie. I'm just a heartbroken guy that witnessed my favorite game series meet an incredibly abrupt end. I don't make YouTube videos, well, not really anyway. I do have a singular headphone review because I somehow managed to get them early, but that's beside the point. Bungie's announcement to put Destiny 2 on life support shocked me and upset me in a way that I didn't know I could feel about a video game. And I felt a need to talk about my history with Destiny and how this all went so incredibly wrong. My first interaction with the Destiny universe was the awesome Become Legend live action trailer from September 2014. My little 9-year-old mind was blown by these space wizards fighting aliens on different planets and racing around on these crazy speeder bikes. I grew up with a Wii and a PS2, and my family wasn't in a position to just go out and buy a new console at the time. But I eventually got an Xbox 360 on a deal from GameStop by pleading with my parents to get one as an early birthday gift. This one game pushed me into needing a new console because I simply needed to experience it. And hey, Bungie was hot off the heels of Halo Reach and their time with the Halo series as a whole, so there was real hype around it. Destiny 1 Year 1 was, well, rocky. That's well known and documented, but by the time that The Taken King had come out and Year 2 had begun, it had easily become my favorite game and universe and lore. I would come home from school and hop on or spend hours during the summer yelling at my friends through raids and nightfalls. To this day, doing Heroic Kingsfall for the first time is a core memory of mine. Rise of Iron and Year 3 once again pushed me into needing to get a new console, which ended up being a Halo 5 edition Xbox One, which also makes an incredibly loud ear-splitting sound every time you turned it on. Yes, every single time. On March 30th, 2017, we got our first look at Destiny 2 through another brilliant trailer. Zavala tells us our mission to take back the power of the light while Cade banters in his usual charismatic fashion. The idea that our light could just be taken was so surreal as a story concept. Of course, I had to get this game immediately too. I saved up my money that I earned from lawn mowing and such, and placed my pre-order at GameStop as soon as I could. I mean, hell, I even have the pre-order bonus Tricorn logo fidget spinner somewhere around here. My dad and older sister went to the midnight release to pick up the game while I was, supposed to be sleeping for school the next day, although in reality I was wide awake from excitement. I even got up way early to play it the next day for about half an hour before school just to get a little taste of it. When Destiny came to PC for the first time with a delayed release of Vanilla Destiny 2, I watched my favorite YouTubers play with these beautiful graphics and silky smooth frame rates. I managed to save up some money and piece by piece build my first PC with a quite humble Ryzen 3 1200 and GTX 1060 3GB. It was not a fast computer by any means, but it sure played Destiny at 60 FPS, so of course I was elated. Destiny 2 had its issues during Year 1 just like Destiny 1 did. Although this time, there was confidence from the community that the issues would be ironed out. And with the release of Forsaken in September 2018, the ball was rolling for Destiny 2 to become a truly great game. But then what I would consider the beginning of the end happened. In a move that was initially seen as a massive win for Bungie and for the game's community as a whole, the publishing agreement with Activision was cut short before its 10-year contract was through. I remember people all over the internet, all over YouTube, all that, thought this would be a great change and a huge step for indie development and publishing. I mean, I thought it was going to be a great change. I think everyone did. But unfortunately, when Shadowkeep and Destiny 2 Year 3 came out, it showed that maybe it was not all sunshine and rainbows. Of course, at this point, Destiny 2 was still my favorite game. I still played it every chance I could, but Shadowkeep felt different. It felt like things just weren't the same anymore. It was full of even more fetch quests and the same encounters and same locations, time and time again. I still enjoyed it, but it didn't feel nearly as special as something like The Taken King, Rise of Iron, or Forsaken. The true nail in the coffin for me came with the announcement of Beyond Light and the plague that was sunsetting. It felt like a complete slap in the face. You were telling us that all of our work, our hundreds or thousands of hours spent grinding and learning puzzles and trying again and again with raid encounters was just, for nothing. When this was announced, I simply stopped playing the game. I didn't even buy Beyond Light. Why would I want to put my time into a game that was just going to throw it away? At this point, I was just turning 16, getting my driver's license and my first job. How was I supposed to come home from being underpaid in an insane Chick-fil-A kitchen to put time into this game that actively punishes you, and not in a fun Souls type of way? Honestly, life just went on from here. I still watched a YouTube video here and there and try to keep up with the lore and story as it went on, but I simply had no motivation to actually play the game. It hurt. This was my favorite game and universe in fiction. This is the series that made me get new game consoles and build a PC. I loved it, but it felt as though I needed to do that from a distance. The Destiny content vault certainly didn't help matters. By quite literally removing content that players had paid for, it was like another slap in the face to the people committed to keeping the game alive. By the time that Sony had acquired Bungie in January 2022 for a colossal $3.6 billion, sunsetting was gone as Bungie seemed to finally realize how massive of a mistake it was. The Witch Queen was just about to come out, and the player base was still hanging in there, kinda. Sony ultimately didn't really mess with things either, and it looked like things were actually starting to be corrected. Lightfall came out to some mixed reception in February 2023, but everyone knew that the main event and tipping point of Destiny as a whole would be the release and reception to the final shape in June 2024. And hey, what do you know? People loved it. I even considered getting back into the game, which meant a lot considering how disheartened I was still feeling regarding sunsetting and the content vault. After the final shape, it was somewhat unclear where Destiny 2 would go. Was it time for Destiny 3? Maybe create a clean slate as a whole in Destiny 2? Or was Bungie just going to bide their time until they could decide what to do next? Unfortunately, it seems like the third option here was the one chosen. In July 2025, The Edge of Fate came out to nothing. Maybe I was just turning a blind eye to the game at this point so that I didn't feel pressured to be sucked back in. But this release truly felt like a whimper compared to the monumental finale that was the final shape. It was clear at this point that Bungie was putting most of their resources into Marathon, which was announced a couple years earlier, but Marathon was more of a side project, just a simple extraction shooter. There's no way that it would ultimately take priority over Destiny, which was Bungie's baby. Right? Well, Renegades came out in December 2025, and truthfully, it's rather cool. I mean, sci-fi nerds love Star Wars, so it was guaranteed to be at least awesome thematically. But again, it wasn't nearly the event of a fully thought out expansion like the game had been receiving before. Marathon finally released soon after in March of this year, and at this point it was pretty clear that Bungie was shifting gears as a company. Sony recently reported $765 million in impairment losses from the acquisition. Updates to Destiny were becoming slow and insignificant, and communication between Bungie and the community was at an all-time low. And then, as we all know, it just happened. Bungie announced that on June 9th, the final content update would be coming to Destiny 2. It'll be over after this. No Destiny 3 in development or on the horizon. The planned expansions just weren't happening anymore. To top it off, after this announcement was made, a report was put out by Bloomberg that Bungie would be starting significant layoffs as Marathon becomes its main project. This decision is simply remarkable. At one point, Destiny 1 was averaging 3.2 million players per day. Destiny 2 had a peak of 316,000 concurrent players on the PC platform alone. These were massive games for myself and so many others that sunk countless hours into them. I grew up with this story and universe as the thing that I would spend so much time learning about and exploring and waiting to see what was going to happen next and what else would be revealed about the past. The simple fact is that regardless of my lack of playing Destiny 2 for the past few years, I care about this game in a way that I didn't even realize until reading that it was over. I was reading through Reddit comments, and it's quite clear that I'm not alone with these thoughts either. Hopefully, eventually, we can see some sort of redemption for Destiny, but maybe I'll just join the FPS games that are just eternally forbidden from the number 3. I'm going to miss it, and I especially feel for the people that are still logging on every day to spend their precious free time playing their favorite game. For the sake of Bungie, I hope that Marathon and any other project they make end up doing well. I mean, they've created some of the most iconic and beloved sci-fi universes out there, but ultimately a series of simply bad decisions regarding Destiny 2 have led it to this point of abandonment. If you watch this whole thing, I hope that you enjoyed it and can potentially relate to what I've said. Thanks for listening to my love letter to a game that deserved so much more than it ended up with.